What is shaken? Welcome to another edition of MTGA Tasting Notes. This time we are going to be diving into something fresh, something bright, something easygoing, and that is going to be our 2019 Dry Riesling. One of our newer releases as of spring 2020. And this has been a wine that wowed me from pretty much the very beginning. Number one, I feel like in our history of making wine, we've never had a harvest be the same day. Kind of same time frame, but it's never been like, all right, this has been the day for the last couple years running, this is going to be the day. But that happened with this wine. The first vintage from this vineyard, we harvested on September 26th, 2018, and sure enough, September 26th, 2019, it came right in as well. Now, this particular year, it was a much more kind of even-keeled growing season in Dry Creek up above Lake Sonoma, where we're getting these grapes. Because in 2018, the first year we worked with this vineyard, there was this heat spike that popped, and the fruit wasn't ripe enough to bring in before the weekend, but we knew full well that it might push a little bit further than where we wanted if we waited through the weekend. But we didn't want underripe characteristics, we didn't want it to potentially taste green, so we waited through the weekend. The fruit got a little riper, and that 2018 vintage was super, super yummy, but just a little richer, a little more stone fruit, a little bit kind of rounder flavors right out of the gate. Where the 2019 didn't have that heat spike, so it stayed a little bit more restrained, a little bit more minerally, something that is just incredibly well suited for a back patio, by the pool, on a boat somewhere, in sunshine. Something that and it's, oddly enough, even a couple months into the aging process, once the fermentation was done, we're talking about January 2020, when we were tasting through these barrel lots, it was almost identical to what the 2018 was, save that little bit more kind of crisp, refreshing flavor, just because it was not quite as ripe as the prior vintage. But strikingly similar, which I feel like our Riesling is much like our Pinot Noir, for example. It tends to vary ever so slightly. You start to see these little changes based on what we were getting from the growing season that year. But oddly enough, 18 and 19, despite kind of their differences at the onset of harvest and how those growing seasons progressed, they ended up being incredibly similar when it was all said and done, outside of a few kind of small complexities in the wine. Now, this is typically a wine that will age in stainless steel. 80% of this wine goes into stainless steel drums that are about 55 gallons, so fairly small lots. And then we'll have one full 60-gallon barrel that is neutral oak, something that's been used over and over again. And that has kind of become our signature style, because those stainless steel barrels really allow the wine to be crisp, refreshing, kind of capture all the beautiful characteristics that the grape has to offer. And that one neutral oak barrel that we use ends up kind of just rounding it out ever so slightly. It's just enough to make sure that this wine has plenty of body to it while being really, really refreshing at the same time. Now, very typical of our Riesling, at an early onset, it doesn't have that, petrol-y, geeky Riesling nose. It's very fruit-driven. You get a lot of apple, a lot of pear. You get some of those kind of pithy citrus characteristics. This one seems to be like a little bit more like ripe, like lime rather than lemon. I know, super, super nerdy, I know. But the palate just has this really nice, it's very refreshing. It's something that you could easily go back for another sip, especially on a hot day. But it has this really nice body to it as well that really makes it just a perfect, everyday kind of, or every situation kind of wine, which is something that we try and do with kind of our three main releases and flagship wines that we produce, this being one of them. We want this to be able to take care of you in almost any situation, whether it's a night out at a great restaurant, a meal at home, just by the pool, at the grill, whatever the situation, we want this wine to be just that plug and play option. Yeah, on the palate, you get a little bit more of those citrusy, more of those minerally notes. You don't quite get as the fruit's not quite as ripe on the palate, which I think lends itself to a little bit more of just that crisp, kind of refreshing nature. It's just yummy, and it doesn't fall off. There's plenty of flavor. It hangs around. There's a super long finish to it. Oh, I'm just so happy. We've been told it's tough to pick a favorite kid. It usually depends on which one's acting up that particular day. Similar to the wines we make, it's tough to pick a favorite, but year in and year out, the Riesling is one of my most favorites to make, simply because it is something different. You don't see a lot of Riesling out here these days, at least as much. There's only a handful of producers that make it. And to be a part of that small group is just an immense amount of fun. Super proud of this wine. Really hoping that you enjoy it as well. You can find out a little bit more information on how to purchase all that good stuff on our website, mtgawines.com. In case you don't receive our newsletters, or if you want a little more information on our wine club, you can also sign up for our newsletter there as well. Well, thank you for tuning in, as always, and we'll see you next time.